Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
All right. Coming right back at you with somebody that can answer questions and help you heal all through different types of energy modalities, right down to psychic readings, Reiki, sound healing, and also astrology, which she demonstrated so beautifully last time we got together. That was really cool, gotta say.
Mhm.
She's back with us today. We're going to look at Oracle and tarot cards. What's up with these cards? What's going on here? You probably have heard about them. Let's dig deeper into this and maybe even give you an example of how it all works. Jamie Serrato is back with us today. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's so good to see you again.
You too, you too. And I wasn't even aware until we jumped in a second ago that you do card readings. Do you do both tarot and oracle?
Yes, they're both tools that I use differently for different things, and I do use both of them.
What's the difference?
So tarot cards go back a really long way. They have four suits, and they have the major arcana and the minor arcana. Um, They are better for very specific questions. A lot of times, if I have like a client who is wanting to know if they should move or they should relocate, tarot cards are really good for giving specific answers. And they're really good for just yes or no questions as well. Tarot cards have four suits. One is fire, one is water, one is earth, and one is air. So the air suit, which is the swords, is more about the mental plane. So, for example, there are some cards that will show us that we're in a state of a lot of anxiety and worry, like the Nine of Swords. If you pull that card, it usually means somebody is very upset, anxious, having sleepless nights. And then we have, for example, the Ace of Swords, which is more about truth and clarity. So each suit, it starts with the ace and it goes all the way up to the king. And each card represents a different concept. And when we pull cards, we can put concepts together to tell a story. And those stories are very much up to the individual reader how they choose to interpret those cards. Oracle cards are similar. They don't all have four suits the way tarot cards do, but they can have a variety of different meanings depending on the deck. For example, we have this deck here. It has the broken heart card, and it has other cards like that that can show things going on in relationships, like if there's a breakup, if you want to know, like, is an ex thinking about you, or is your relationship likely to work out, things like that. They can show us a picture of the type of energy that is in the situation.
Now, I don't know if I have this right, but I thought I had heard that tarot cards can be darker, in terms of what presents after they're pulled than oracle. Is that right?
There is more fear associated with the traditional tarot. People tend to get a little bit spooked by it because it does have cards like the Ten of Swords, which it depicts a man laying on the ground with 10 swords in his back. So many oracle card decks will not have any negative cards because some people do get spooked and scared when they see a tarot card, like the death card, for example. But a lot of times these are just speaking of metaphysical endings. It's not that there's actually a death, there's just an ending. So part of working with tarot cards is clearing your fears around negative things happening, because even when something negative happens, it's happening for you, it's not happening to you.
So about 2 months ago, I got a deck of cards, figured I'd, mess around with it. I'm not sure what kind of cards they are because I wanted the most simple I could deal with. they're called angel cards. They might be Oracle angel cards. Um, Kyle Gray is the guy behind them. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I hear he's some people have heard of him. Um, and I mess around with pulling cards just for fun. Easy to interpret. I don't even have to go to like a book or anything. Um, I wonder after you shuffle them
Mhm.
and you pull cards out. Some people have said the card jumped out for me. Um, what's going on? Is it the universe already knew you were going to pick that card out and it is the right card for you? You know, even if you shuffle the deck and you've got three cards on top, one, two, three, and those are the ones you grabbed. Is it that the universe wanted it already knew you're going to grab them, and that's the answer to what you're looking for?
Yeah, so it's synchronicity, and everything is made up of energy. Even the
Sure.
cards are, when you break them down to the atoms, right? They're made of energy.
Sure.
So the way I think of it is we are all magnetic, and the card that is a vibrational match to you in that moment, especially when you are focused in on your question, is the card that you're going to pull or that's going to pop out of the deck while you're shuffling. And also, people also use patterns for tarot cards. For example, like a Celtic cross reading, where they pull them with specific positions in mind. So you can pull, let's say, 10 cards and already have it laid out. So you know the first card is going to be the problem at hand. The second card could be subconscious factors. I actually have a book with 1,000 different tarot card spreads.
Wow.
So there are many different ways you can use them, and you can also like make up your own system to learn and learn to divinate.
Can we pull some cards as an example?
Yeah, sure.
Now, how do you make a decision whether to go between tarot or oracle?
I like using Oracle more for like relationships and emotional situations. They can kind of give me a read on that. And I prefer using tarot more for like black and white questions, like a yes or a no. Should I move? Should I not move? And that's just what works for me.
Hmm.
If you're new to cards and you're a little wary of working with them, I definitely recommend starting with Oracle cards, because they tend to just be a little more gentle in their messages.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I guess that goes back to what I heard that the tarot could be a little bit darker. We just need simple answers, yes or no. Gotcha. Okay. So
Mhm.
you shuffle them, and then do you typically pull three cards at once? Is that how it works?
Yes, I do. And the way I've been using them lately is when I do a reading with someone, if I'm not channeling the answer immediately, I pull cards to help and assist me with the reading and get more information. They're like
Should
my little helpers.
should somebody should somebody ask you the intent a question before you pull the cards? How does that work? I always wondered.
Um, Yes, it's very, see, I just pulled cards at random right now, but really it's best you can do that just to see if you get any downloads from pulling those cards. But really it is better to have a specific intention in mind that we think of before we even start shuffling.
Hmm. You tell me how you want to roll.
Well, give me a topic or a question.
I'm gonna hit you up with the one that I'm sure you get the most. When am I finding the special person in my life?
Oh, are you single?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna pull tarot cards for that because they're better with timing. So I can usually tell
Okay,
if
so
something is coming fast or
that's what
coming
I was gonna
slow
say.
from the tarot cards.
I was gonna rephrase that question. Will I meet that special someone in the next 2 months?
That is a great way to phrase the question
Okay.
for sure. So for that question, I'm gonna pull just one card and it will be a yes or a no.
But I like three. It gives me more of a chance. No, I'm kidding.
Well, we can pull a couple
No,
more.
I'm kidding. Yeah. Yeah, let's go with the one. You know what? I do it at home and I pull three. Obviously, I don't know what I'm doing. It's just for fun. But
Yeah.
that's interesting, pulling one. I've never thought of that. I always thought gotta be three, but one got, just really hyper focuses on this is the answer. Okay.
I'm getting a yes. I pulled
what did you get? What do you see?
so I pulled the Nine of Swords, but it's reversed, which
Does that
when
mean
a
upside
card,
down? Upside down?
yes.
Okay.
So when a card is upside down, it usually means you're coming out of that emotional state. So this is the Nine of Swords, which may mean you may have been worried about when am I going to meet this person, right? So being that it's upside down, it shows you coming out of a state of worrying about meeting the right person.
And there's something else involved there. Don't even need to get into it, but that makes perfect sense. Seriously. It really does. Wow.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, how can we do another example? It would be another question or
Well, I did pull two more. So I also pulled the Eight of Cups in reverse. The Eight of Cups usually has to do with leaving a situation that is not good for you. So I don't know if you went through a breakup or even if you've just been on some dates maybe that didn't go very well, but it's in reverse. So that's telling me that you're not having to leave an unhealthy relationship. It's saying that you may be walking into a healthier relationship.
interesting. Okay. I understand what you're saying. I really do.
Okay. And then finally, we pulled the Six of Wands. So that's really, it's like having three yeses because the first two were negative cards, but they were upside down, which makes them positive. And then the third card is the Six of Wands, which means victory.
Wow. Hmm.
So I do get a yes on that.
Yeah, well, not just a yes, but a reinforced yes with that last card.
Yes.
How do you know how to interpret? Is it just based on experience?
I wouldn't say experience alone is enough because for many years I was kind of like you. I just played around with the cards.
Hmm.
But I think it was really when I began to trust my spirit guide that I began to be able to accurately read the cards. Because it's like you said, there are so many different ways you can interpret one card, right? So you really, when you're doing a reading for someone, you have to listen for your guidance to be able to hear the correct interpretation of that particular card.
Are
But I went through a process with my guides and they taught me how to read them.
I was just going to say something very similar to that. When you are pulling cards, are your guides guiding you within your mind? Are you hearing anything? What like getting a download when you interpret a card for somebody?
Yes, I use downloads like 95% of the interpretation is probably coming from my spirit guide.
Wow. Can you can you pull a card or three um, based on just are you going to pull the cards and here's this is for everybody. Let's say a reassurance of what's going on in the world or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. We could pull a couple cards about like the new year that's coming in for our country.
Okay.
Monday will be inauguration day, and I'm actually having a crystal bowl sound bath gathering here locally to celebrate just the new energy coming in for our country.
Yeah. And not even talking about politics. It's just something different.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
I
it.
mean, it doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. Either way,
Yeah.
it's a new year, and whoever is president, I want them to be successful because they're in charge of my country, right?
Yeah. 100%. All right. So why don't we roll on that and see what we get?
Okay. Hmm. Yeah, this is a very positive reading. Okay, I pulled the star. So the star has to do with wish fulfillment and it also has to do with aligning with the soul's purpose. So that tells me that there's a positive, high vibrational energy. We're being supported by spirit as a country. You know, our country should be like a family. So we're being supported by spirit for all of us to begin exploring our higher calling. And then here we have Seven of Wands, which is about defending your emotional boundaries. But since we pulled it as a reading for kind of the US, I would honestly see this as a way of securing the border. So
Interesting.
different cards in different contexts can be interpreted differently. And then we have Five of Cups reversed. Five of Cups is about sadness. It's about being broken. It's about feeling broken, feeling not good enough. But in this case, it's upside down. So potentially that could show the country coming out of a phase where it was in a very unhealed state. And maybe that turning around and more healing energy coming in for us as a country and a family.
Interesting. Wow. Uh, when did you start reading cards?
I was probably about 18, 19 years old, and I'm 35 now. So, I dibble dabbled with them for a long time. I was just a fanatic about everything spiritual. And then just recently, basically signed a contract with my guides to learn how to read them for other people. So it's kind of like they've always been in my life. I've always had spiritual stuff around me, books, cards, that kind of thing. And I'm just now learning how to turn it into a profession.
Um, I want I want to learn more about what you just said about signing a contract with your guides. What does that mean?
So we have soul contracts
Hmm.
that we are meant to fulfill. We are meant to do something when we come to Earth. We don't just incarnate, for no reason. We're all here to learn things and we're also here to perform jobs. So once we have completed all of our lessons that we need to complete for our personal growth and our well-being, and we're in a really stable place, sometimes spirit will kind of tap you on the shoulder and ask you to work for spirit and help people using your gifts. So that I see that as a soul contract. I get downloads. So for me, it was very much, I woke up that morning and my guide said, you signed a soul contract and you're going to be quitting your job soon. So for me, it's very cut and dry. I know most people don't experience spirit like that, but that's kind of how they work in my life.
So this is the soul contract was for you established a while ago, long time ago. Is that birth?
Um, so this contract that I signed it last summer. And it was very, very sudden. I woke up, I was told that I signed it. I had been very unhappy at my job, but it began being created at that moment. It hasn't fully come into fruition yet, but that was the time I was notified. Like I was told, you're going to be working for us. You're going to be coming out fully as the spiritual person that you are and not hiding it anymore. And it's been a long process, almost like an initiation, of learning how to hold more energy and more power and being able to interpret what my guides are saying at a very clear and accurate level in order to be given the responsibility of having a job where I help people spiritually.
So is it possible for us to sign a soul contract, but we didn't intend to? Or is it, yes, you did. That's what you're here for.
It is. And you asked if it was from birth. I think it's dependent on our free will too, right? If I made free will choices to not heal myself and to not um, be on an ascension path, then I might not have gotten to the point where my guide said, okay, she's ready to start reading for other people. So our free will plays a big part, and you can use your free will to break contracts as well. And it's important to know that, especially with like soulmate relationships, if you're in a toxic soulmate relationship, you are allowed to break that contract and nothing is going to be forced on you.
Would you say the contract is part of the Akashic records?
Yes, I see it as the terms of our agreement for our incarnation. I take incarnation very seriously. I have memory and awareness of, speaking with guides, meeting with guides before I came to Earth, and knowing that I was here on an assignment and a mission, and I take it very seriously.
I get what you're saying, and I feel I existed around the 1800s.
That's
I really
cool.
do. I have this affinity. Quick story for the 1800s. Like, I love looking at photographs. I love looking around the 1850s where photography was just starting and you could
Mhm.
actually see real stuff as opposed to somebody drawing something. But I would look at the clothes and be like, man, look at how do they do that? I mean, that's, looks like today, but, they didn't have machines or anything like that. I could stare at pictures forever. So fast forward to I met a genealogist, didn't have a close connection with my father and family and all of that, but gave a couple of basic pieces of information. Through Ancestry, I found out that I'm Lithuanian, never knew I was. And she was able to trace back and found out that my father's father was from Lithuania, was a tailor. So he made clothes, worked his butt off, and was able to make enough money to bring his family to New York and did very well for himself in New York City. She was even able to find the street that he lived on. And I look at
Amazing.
that. So he was a tailor. That's in my, I guess, my DNA. And here I am looking at the 1800s. Maybe I was even looking at his work and not even knowing it. So for me, that's validation of maybe I existed around that time. I don't know. But I've heard tons of stories of people even saying, now going to somebody that does past life regression, and this somebody somebody who does that told me the story that she met this gentleman and said, yeah, this is what I'm getting. You were shot in the back when at another
Wow.
1700s. And he said, I can't believe you're saying that because I've had a pain in the middle of my back in just a central spot,
Mhm.
not like a radiate, just pinpointed pain. He says, forever. I can't even remember when I've never had it. To me, that sounds like maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of times if someone had a traumatic death, especially in a past life, that can, like you said, you may have a birthmark there, or you may be afraid of water if you drowned in a past life. There's
Mm,
definitely signs and symptoms that you died in a specific way or that you lived in a specific way. I feel very close to Egypt, and I resonate with that culture a whole lot.
wow. This is fascinating. Great talking with you today. Learned a lot. Thanks for validating a lot of things as well. Jamie, if somebody wants to find you, either for reading of any type, coaching, any of that, anything spiritual, how do they find you?
It's www.calmerwaterscoaching.com, or you can call me at 228-332-6024.
Calmer Waters is like the best name ever. It
Thank you.
is. It speaks peace to me, and I think that's the most important, love and peace in life. If you don't know what peace is until you don't have it. And when you realize it, i.e., waters that are calm. Thanks again for being here, and looking forward next time we get together.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's
It's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.